Alright, so today we saw the classic 2014 film, The Hungover Games. So Aidan, what's the plot of The Hungover Games?
The Hungover Games is an exact recreation of the Hunger Games, but there's a twist in that instead of just sending children to fight for their districts, each district is represented by terrible movie parodies. The main characters of the movie are basically the characters from The Hangover. The only difference is instead of being named after the characters from The Hangover, they're named after the actors who played them. And otherwise they're exact replicas with like Zach Galifianakis, whose character's called Zach. Zach wears the fucking fanny pack, the man purse, and like the wolf shirt, and it's just like exact. And they go up against very relevant characters. Even in 2014, very relevant characters like a Na'vi from Avatar, Ted, the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka, the Johnny Depp Tonto,
Jack Sparrow.
lots of topless women.
Yeah,
Carrie.
several topless women. I don't think there's a woman in this movie that didn't show her boobs.
A zombie from The Walking Dead. Just high quality, relevant references to things. A lot of Ted. You know, basically anything that was popular from like 2009 to 2012 was just kind of crammed into this.
Basically.
And so they reenact the Hunger Games. They run around in the woods. All the weapons are replaced with dildos for some reason. And they run around and kill each other. And then at the end, the good guys, the Hangover guys, are the last survivors. And they go to a gay wedding. So Connor, what did you think of the Hungover Games?
I thought The Hungover Games was completely dreadful. Obviously it was going to be, but I thought it was pretty dreadful.
This is our second Hangover knockoff on this channel.
Right. For some reason that's something we tend to do, even though neither of us are particularly familiar with the series. I think the reason people do that is because they're like, let's go to Vegas and shoot our Hangover ripoff, and then it's cheap and easy to
Let's
film,
go to Atlantic City.
They get a vacation.
Atlantic City.
Well, Atlantic City they can guerrilla shoot at without getting arrested, presumably. It's easier or something. I don't really know why.
Well, it's because Atlantic City, I'm sure the permits for filming in Vegas are expensive as fuck. The permits for filming in Atlantic City are probably a pack of beers and a blowjob.
Right. Maybe they thought if they did Vegas too, it'd be too similar. But we're not talking about Mancation right now. We're talking about the Hungover Games. Yeah. Constant references. It's supposed to kind of capitalize on the fame of, like, the Meet the Spartans epic movie crew. And it's definitely lower budget than that, but it's the same idea. Just pack shit into this that people recognize and try to make a quick buck from stupid people, basically. But I would say it has more of a plot. Granted, that plot and the characters is directly stolen from Hunger Games, and the characters are directly stolen from The Hangover. Like,
and other franchises.
Like, I think they had to call it The Hungover Games and change the names of the characters to the actors that play them, because there's a point where it's not parody. Like Ed, who plays Ed, whatever his face from The Office's character, is he's the straight man in this movie, just like he is in the other one.
Except he's also a
pedophile, but I guess I'll probably loop around to that. There's a lot to fucking unpack. And there's no good way to go and unpack this movie, because it's all just a bunch of shit. Like, there's so much different shit, but it's not, like, related shit. It's just... But whatever. And then we got Zach Galifianakis' character, who's just a fucking retard. And basically they just found 3 people that look remotely like the Hangover leads. And then they play the Hangover leads. Exactly. But like cheap impersonators. So that was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then you have like Katniss Everdeen, who's Catnip or something.
Catnip Evergreen or something.
Because her name sounds like catnip. And she's like a 17-year-old girl that's in love with Ed. And we see her titties. And there's porn stars, and we see their titties.
Well, the movie goes out of its way.
From Avatar, and we see their titties.
The movie there's a lot of titties, but the movie goes out of its way to repeatedly say Catnip is 17.
Right.
And they're like, okay, look at her titties, though.
Well, then they were also talking
she's
about...
like, I want to fuck you, Ed. And he's like, I want to fuck you, too.
Well, this movie has, like...
17-year-old titties.
This movie... See, I worry because I feel like this movie actually does have a... Like with Doug, when he makes pedophile jokes, because our whole channel is about the nostalgia critic now. But when Doug makes pedophile jokes, you're like, he's misinformed, and he's acting like a fucking idiot, and he looks like a pedophile. This guy, I'm not as sure, because when the little black girl dies, because in the movie the little black girl dies...
Yep, just like
and that's what happens. So they got like a lookalike actress, and she also dies in the same way.
Except the joke is that the little black girl always calls them crackers, and
right,
she'll be like, "You guys are fucking honkies, you fucking crackers."
Yeah, she's a
That's
racist black character because that's how these movies roll. But the characters we're talking about, like bukkaking a dead 14-year-old black girl, wasn't a good look. It was a bad look. It was awkward.
This movie was also, fun fact, written by the guy who wrote Jigsaw and Spiral.
It was directed by the guy who wrote Jigsaw and Spiral. This guy's taking over the Saw movies. Yeah, they did a lot of titties in this movie. It was very exploitative.
Yeah, Lana Rhoades was in it. She's a porn star. Just straight up.
Well, I feel like the girls who aren't porn stars that acted in this movie were very desperate.
Oh,
and
definitely.
We're just kind of like in it for the thing. I didn't think the main actors were that bad, with the caveat that if they were just playing generic characters, it wouldn't be that bad. But you have but they're playing the roles of actual professional actors, and these people are about as talented as background extras. So you basically have a bunch of featured extras playing professional actors, a couple of which are actually okay actors roles, and it does not work at all. That's like the biggest problem. If it was just like, my name's Bradley, I would just think, oh, it's a cheap movie, you get cheap actors, they're not the best, but as far as it goes, it wouldn't have been terrible. But then you have like this dude trying to do, because he's impersonating Zach Galifianakis' character, he has to impersonate Zach Galifianakis, so he's a dude who clearly doesn't sound anything like Zach Galifianakis. He probably has a pretty deep voice. Probably sounds like a fucking lumberjack or a fucking trucker or something. But he's trying to do like this fucking Zach Galifianakis Michael Jackson voice, and it just does not work at all.
Well, the Zach Galifianakis guy is terrible, and the Bradley Cooper guy doesn't even remotely resemble Bradley Cooper.
Well, he also doesn't do anything.
But if the
he just barely talks.
If the fucking Ed guy was in a movie, a different movie, and someone was like, "That's the guy from The Hangover, the guy who loses his teeth," I'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
He doesn't look that similar. Oh, you mean acting wise?
I mean, Ed is such a forgettable human being that I could probably be tricked into that.
Right. If that dude wasn't in The Office and I was like, oh, it's The Office guy, I could believe it's the real deal. That's the only thing is I recognize him from The Office and I say, oh, it's The Office guy. But yes, I agree with you. The movie, as far as it goes, it's not as bad as like the epic movies and shit. It just feels like it's trying to capitalize off of those movies on a lower budget.
And also capitalize out of every other movie release from like 2008 to 2012.
Yeah, they're literally... The funny thing is they're trying to rip off the formula of a bunch of people whose formula is ripping people off on under the guise of parody. But the problem is, since everything in this movie's a fucking rip-off, they ripped off the format, they ripped off the plot of the Hunger Games, exactly. They ripped off the characters from The Hangover, exactly. It comes off less as a parody and more of a just a ripoff. Because when you rip off characters from a comedy film, it's kind of hard to really call it a parody when they act exactly the same as they do in those comedy films.
Yeah.
If it was like the Hangover guys showed up and then for 2 seconds, you can kind of classify that as a parody. But then you even have
sticking
like
their characters into a different movie.
Right, that's what they did. And like the fourth friend shows up who wasn't important in the like he was a side character that barely shows up in the Hangover movies. And they try to give him like a character arc, even though in this movie, so this character we've never seen. But he's based on a character who's rarely seen in the Hangover movie. So him and the other characters who are parody of characters from the Hangover movie have a character arc that's based on their character arc from the Hangover movies, which is a movie that this movie's unaffiliated with.
Yeah, like...
So really what they tried to do was make another Hangover movie and just set it beat for beat.
Unlicensed Hangover movie taking place in the universe of the Hunger Games.
Yes, that's what this movie is. Because it baffled me that like why not just have the fourth guy get killed off? They couldn't even kill off the characters.
Yeah.
Like if they're gonna be in the Hangover and it's a parody, kill them off.
Well, it's not
but
just
they had like
parody,
a heartwarming scene at the end.
It's not even that it's just a parody, but it's also a really edgy parody. Like, all the weapons that they get at the start of the movie are dildos, and people murder each other with dildos, and there's women with their tits out all the time.
And Ted teabags people to death.
After the Navi dies, the fucking
guy starts
Zach
molesting her dead
Galifianakis
body.
starts molesting her corpse, and Ed wants to fuck a 17-year-old, and
Right.
they want to bukkake a dead 14-year-old, and, like, all this shit. It's like... They go out of their way to be fucking horrendously edgy.
They basically just toss a bunch of
but then they don't
edgy
have
shit
the balls
into-
to kill the Hunger Games people.
You mean
The fucking
Hangover people?
people, whatever.
I think whoever made this wanted to write a Hangover movie and was salty because he didn't get accepted or something. God. No, it's really retarded, honestly. And the other thing that pissed me off, this is kind of unrelated to anything, but when Ted talks, it's not quite the Seth MacFarlane voice. I even was talking about this with Aidan, it's kind of on the uncanny valley. Like it's similar enough to Seth MacFarlane's voice, but not quite there, which makes it horrible. Like, the guy who played Ted didn't try to do his own thing. He just tried to recreate Seth MacFarlane's voice, but failed.
Yeah.
It was really fucking embarrassing to watch.
They should have gone for the Joe Swanson, because every human being on
Right.
planet Earth can do Joe Swanson's voice.
Right.
You could get like a 7-year-old girl to do the Joe Swanson voice because it's so easy.
Right, exactly.
Connor, do the Joe Swanson voice right
I'm
now.
not going to do it.
Hey Peter, we're in a terrible parody of the Hunger
Cleveland
Games.
Brown voice, dude.
My name is Cleveland Brown.
This is unrelated, but have you ever been on YouTube and seen one of those I do 100 impressions and it's 100 it's I do Ted and then Peter Griffin and then fucking Joe Swanson and Cleveland Brown and then
That's
Stewie.
because Seth MacFarlane just does pitched up and pitched down versions of the same fucking voice.
I don't think they even pitch shift him.
I don't think he pitch shifts. I think he just goes up and down in pitch for every character, because every character is basically the same. For Joe, he's like, "Hey, Peter," and then for Peter, he's like, "Ah."
Any character with complexity isn't easy to do, but any clown can do the 100 Family Guy characters. Anyhow, yeah, it's pretty grotesque. It's baffling. It really just feels like someone wanted to make a Hangover movie, but they're I'm guessing because this came out probably before Hangover 3. Maybe this guy tried to submit some sort of Hangover 3 script, and then he's like, "Fuck you guys for not taking it." Or maybe this dude just loved the Hangover and somehow got some studio to front the bill under the guise of it being Hunger Games.
Or he realized that he could potentially trick stupid people into watching this movie by just sticking two popular franchises together, and I guess
honestly, why didn't he just decide? I guess maybe if he just called it The Hungover or something and tried to get it distributed through Asylum, I guess maybe he couldn't do the characters as blatantly. But if you do something put it in Hunger Games and call it a parody and do a bunch of parody characters, it's fine.
Yeah, you gotta go all out with it if you're doing parody.
God, and it must not have been cheap to make fully, because you know there's a lot of legal shit that probably has to go down before the shit can premiere.
I don't know, man. Parody law is pretty generous. I think a lot of the legal stuff was pretty much taken care of, and the thing looks like it was shot on the producer's backyard in some fucking field. In some shots, you can see the fucking highway in the background.
It's like a dirt road. Like, it's definitely... They either knew somebody or, like, paid somebody... paid somebody...
Rented
like,
some dude's ranch or something.
Honestly, I think it might have been, like, a paintball course or some shit. Because it was right off, like, a dirt road highway. Maybe not a paintball course, but maybe, like, an orchard of some kind or something. Somewhere where they had ample land. Or, like, it looked like a Boy Scout camp or something. Because there's, like, cleared out woods in the middle.
Yeah.
And then woods all around. Although a lot of it was just shot in, like, the same patch of woods. And the rest was just in the middle. Like, there were a couple sets that were made. And they didn't look awful as far as it goes. But they probably had a lot of, you know, crafting money to do that. When most of your movies just shot in the fucking woods behind Grandma's house.
I know the actress who plays Catnip wasn't actually 17, but the fact that they go out of their way to spend the whole movie calling her 17 just to show her titties multiple times is a little iffy,
Well,
bro.
then there's the twist where, like, it turned out to be a dream or an alternate reality or some bullshit. Well, and then in real life he sees the girl and I'm like, is she still 17? Is he still a pedophile? I guess it's a question that's supposed to be just out there.
The real thing, they all wake up and it's apparently just a dream, but they all shared this dream because, I don't know. And then he sees the girl at the wedding, but we have no idea who this girl is. Like, she doesn't seem to know him, but they also don't seem to know her. Like, she's just at this wedding, and even though it's just a wedding for, like, their friend group, none of them know her. She just, like, showed up to this wedding. And none of them recognize her? Like, does the fucking other gay guy know her or something? Is it like his nephew? Like, who the fuck is she? Why is she there?
Right.
They're just like, okay, it was all a dream. Then she shows up and they're like, okay. You bang that 17-year-old, bro. It's fucking weird.
So, Aidan, what do you have to add about the Hungover games?
Really, nothing. I mean, I think we covered most of it. Some of the parodies are incredibly cringe. I don't know what they were going for with some of them. Like, they have the Real Housewives show up for like 3 seconds, and then they're just like, we're drunk, and they set them on fire. The porn star keeps getting her titties caught in the nets at the start of the movie is like a running gag, but it's only a running gag for like 10 minutes.
It was like 3 times in one scene, and that was it. Because boobies, I guess.
They talk about how, like, Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka talks like a pedophile, and then they make jokes about sticking dildos in his ass, and then he dies. I just don't get... Like, a lot of the parodies in this movie... When this movie came out in 2014, they would have been moderately dated by that point, is the point. And then there's just some porn stars for some reason who are just naked.
Just why?
They're not a parody.
Also, Bruce Jenner's in this for some reason.
Oh my god! I can't believe we went so long without talking about that. Yeah, one of the announcers or like the fucking commentators for the Hunger Games. There's some black guy and there's Bruce Jenner. And Bruce Jenner spends the whole time with like blue lipstick on and a wig. And it's hard not to blame this movie for Bruce becoming Caitlyn, you know? This was his awakening moment. The fucking Hungover Games woke him up to being a woman.
I just wonder why the fuck he was in this movie.
I don't know.
Like, what does he have to gain? Did he audition? Did they call him?
The only thing I can imagine...
Was it just to put his name on the poster, maybe?
I bet...
But would Bruce Jenner actually sell movie tickets to anyone?
What I have to imagine... They wanted someone moderately famous but affordable they could put on the posters. And this was when Keeping Up with the Kardashians was picking up steam. And so they probably called all the Kardashians to be in the movie, and Bruce was the only one who responded because he had nothing better to do.
Yeah. That, or maybe Bruce Jenner wanted an acting career for a while, so he didn't have to, like, leech off the Kardashians completely. Because he was pretty much just Chris's husband, so that was pretty much his duty in the Kardashians.
He won a silver medal in the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, but that was in like the fucking 70s, bro.
But yeah, Bruce Jenner is in this. He doesn't do anything important. He just wears makeup, which is interesting.
Right.
An awakening moment for Bruce, perhaps. Speculation, of course.
I do think maybe Bruce was trying to get acting gigs, and when he they got Bruce, they were just like, oh, he's moderately famous, so we'll toss his name on it. He is the most famous person in this movie.
He ran a guy over and then pretended to transition to get out of jail. But he still keeps his dick and balls and fucks women, so... Would you recommend the Hungover games?
No, I wouldn't recommend the Hungover games. It was fucking awful. It was fucking terrible.
How would you rank this with the other Hangover
A lot
ripoff?
of the time, I like to put a but in there. I feel like I put a but after everything where I list this very specific demographic that would appeal to this movie. This is not going to appeal to fucking Hunger Games fans.
It's not gonna appeal to fucking
12-year-old
anyone.
girls. It's not going to appeal to Hangover people because it's based on a movie for 12-year-old girls. Maybe. Probably would appeal to Hangover fans. You know what? Hangover fans,
That doesn't
go
exist.
for it. Not anymore. So, Aidan, when you
wait,
recommend-
hold on. How would you rank this without the other Hangover parody we saw?
You know, on a technical aspect, this movie's better.
True.
But I will say, at least Mancation has original characters. Bad characters, but original. At least it has its own jokes. It's not taking characterizations. Like, I'm sure there was some rip-offy shit in there, because it's a
Probably.
rip-off movie still. But at least it's not blatantly rip-off Hunger Games beat for beat, but toss in the Hangover characters exactly, except just throw them in there. It's not a Hangover fan fiction. This is literally a hangoverfanfic.com entry. Like, couldn't you see that? It's like, Ed wakes up. He's in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
He just did a fucking bukkake on a 14-year-old child who passed away.
It's almost a shame the parody movie genre is dead. I mean,
No, it's not.
it's not a shame.
No, it's
they're
not
terrible.
at fucking all.
But can you imagine, like, the people who made fucking Meet the Spartans trying to make a movie about, like, the modern day film climate where they're, like, having Sonic the Hedgehog run around with Batman and the Marvel characters and, like,
Tom
it'd be
Cruise is
like
the mummy. Well, everything's like 2 years behind in Parodyville, so you gotta keep in mind, bro. We would be getting like the Mummy, probably the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Beat them to it.
beat him to the fucking...
We'd have the Avengers fighting Tom Cruise, and then Batman would show up and be like, "I'm in the wrong films, bub."
Well, no,
Yeah, why did I
Batman
do
would
the
show up.
Wolverine?
Batman would show up and he'd be like, "I'm so depressed because my movie is so dark," and like kill himself or something. You gotta think like the
Right.
stupidest joke you can make about it.
Then like Snoop Dogg would show up and be like, you know,
Snoop
at
Dogg
least those ones can get like a couple B-list celebrities to show up. At least they got the change to be like Snoop Dogg comes in. We got fucking
Like fucking
God knows who else. But
fucking Ice-T or
I
whatever.
think Bruce Jenner was supposed to be their Snoop Dogg. Just like it was supposed to be like their B-list cameo. I mean, a lot of these movies have like a handful of them and like actual
Yeah.
B-list actors instead of unknown extras who had the closest looking headshots to the Hangover characters.
Kim Kardashian was in Epic movie or superhero movie, one of those fucking things.
Right,
She
and the
appears and gets
embarrassing
crushed
thing
by the
is-
car or whatever by Tony Stark.
Right, and then the embarrassing thing is, all Bruce Jenner could pull was the Hungover Games. God.
Hey, this movie actually has a Wikipedia page on like Mancation.
Yeah, well, Mancation was clearly made on a much lower budget. Mancation was kind of like, it was like a Room-esque production where I'm guessing one of the four boys, the main characters. I'm guessing the fat one kind of because he seemed like center frame on the
Oh, like
poster.
the blonde one?
The fat guy with the beard.
No, I think they stuck him center frame on the poster to be like the Zach Galifianakis. Because like they wanted to make it a ripoff, but I think that blonde dude was the director. I don't have any proof of that, but the fact that he was like chubby and awkward and had blonde hair kind of screamed like this is my first movie right out of film school, you know?
No, dude, it wasn't out of film school. You know that dude's got either rich parents, you know,
Probably
fucking
not.
Ryan from Cinemassacre, or he's a fucking some sort of like rich guy who said I want to make a movie but has no proper
Something along those lines.
knowledge. I'm guessing like Mancation was one of the two. Either some dude really had rich ass parents or fucking yeah. Mancation had no celebrity cameos. There was a level of charm to Mancation, even if it was just like, okay, shooting at grandma's house now. This one's kind of like definitely is somewhere in between that and Epic Movie. But at least like this movie kind of lied and said it was a lampooning movie, but really it was just a bad Hangover ripoff with less creativity.
Hangover fan fiction.
Right, fan fiction. Yeah, this movie is literally probably, if I've ever seen a movie that is just fan fiction on the screen, that's what this is.
I mean, it really is. It's basically just some 15-year-old kid like smashing all his favorite movies together and being like, "Heh, boobies."
Yeah, with poorly written fucking...
It's basically something, it's almost like something you'd see someone upload to like fanfiction.net as like a parody.
Dude, I want to transcribe this movie, because I'm sure you can't find the script online. I want to transcribe this movie onto fanfics.com and see what people think. Because no one will see. No one will figure out what it is.
Okay, that'd be funny as shit.
It sounds like no, it does not sound like something I'm going to do. I'm not a fast enough typer to do it at the pace, so I'd have to be like, pause. What did you say? I'd have to go, like, it'd take me like 10 fucking hours to transcribe this movie. And that's not something I'm willing to waste my life on.
Just upload this thing to YouTube and let the auto-generate captions do it.
Even though everything will be wrong. Like
Yeah,
80% of words I'd have to fix. Oh, so you're saying
but
like...
you upload it as is,
spell
because that's
check
how...
it.
Well, no, you don't even have to spell check it. Have you ever read fanfiction?
But then it's a bunch of shit that's spelt right. Just
It's like-
wrong word.
Sonic T. Hedgehog went to the park and he went upstairs.
Anyway, Aidan, would you recommend the Hungover games?
I'm thinking, bro.
Why are you thinking? What is there to think about?
No, okay. Okay, you're right. There's nothing to think about. It's terrible.
I'm kind of curious what your thought process was that you even had to think about it.
I had fun talking about the movie.
It's fun to
But
talk
it's not
about.
fun to watch. It's not fun to watch. It was really boring.
Right.
It's bad fan fiction. No, but it doesn't appeal to anybody that I can imagine existing. Like, are there hardcore Hangover fans? I doubt it. If there are, I guess this is like another adventure in the Hangover saga for you to watch.
It's just way fucking worse.
But it's fucking... Even... You know, I don't know, bro. No, don't watch it. As far as it goes, I'm probably going to give the win to this because it was slightly more moderately amusing than Mancation, because Mancation was very boring and the whole movie was just like, we're in grandma's house and look at all these boner pills she has. Like, this movie tried to be funny and failed, so I'm going to give the win to this one.
Alright guys, that was the entire video. I'll see you guys next time. And remember, if you don't want to be around, then quit being a clown. Sounds like I just told them to kill themselves.